Hi there, welcome to Camden Community Garden and welcome to my latest instalment of Let's Go Grow. So we're in spring and as you can see, weather's heating up already. It's a really good time to think about growing tomatoes. So you've got two options when it comes to starting tomatoes. You can either grow from seed or you can grow from seedling. I do both. There's no right or wrong way, it just depends on your situation and what you prefer. I grow most of mine from seed at the moment, and I've started these ones about 5 weeks ago, and these ones about 3 weeks ago, and I'm going to sow another round of seeds today. So I just thought I'd take this moment to show you guys how I go about sowing my seed. So come join me in the greenhouse and let's go grow. So here we are in the greenhouse, and as you can see, I've already prepared some seed trays with some premium seed raising mix. Now I've used a store-bought seed raising mix for today's video. Sometimes I mix my own, sometimes I just purchase it pre-made. Both options are great, it just depends on what you prefer. So yeah, I use both. These are some seedlings I've grown earlier, so this is what you can expect to have at about 6 weeks. Now I started these in a multi-cell tray like this one here, and then I just divided them up. So once those second set of true leaves develop, that's time to then divide them up and put them into their bigger pots. And I potted these up a week ago and they're just firing along. But for today's video, we'll get stuck into how I go about sowing fresh seed. So one of the most important things when sowing seed is you always want to sow into soil that's moist or wet. You never want to sow into dry soil. So I've put the seed raising mix into these trays, and then all I've done is just give it a tap to make sure it's settled, and then I've got the hose and just give it a spray for a while just to wash out any excess nutrients and also to make sure that the mix is well and truly wet. So one of the biggest mistakes I'm guilty of making in the past when it comes to sowing tomato seeds is sowing them too deep. So I've got a little dibber here today, and the reason that I've got that is I've put a mark at about 5 millimeters, and that's how deep I'm going to sow them. So you definitely don't want to be sowing them too deep. They are only a little seed, and generally the rule of thumb when it comes to sowing 90% of seeds is you want to sow them at a depth 2.5 times their size. So yeah, just that's a rule of thumb with most seeds. So yeah, so all I'm going to do in each tray is make 3 little holes like so, all at the same depth, and that's it. So I'm going to be growing 3 different varieties, or sowing 3 different varieties today, and these varieties are all varieties that I'm going to use to make pasta sauce. So yeah, I've grown these varieties before. I picked up these seeds from Happy Valley Seeds. They've got a great range of seeds, so go online and check them out if you live in Australia. So the varieties I'm sowing today are San Marzano and Costaludo Fiorentino, as well as Costaludo Genovese. So tomato seeds are quite small, so I always just like to tip them out into my hand before sowing. And that just makes them easier to pick out one by one and drop into their holes. It also lets you make sure that you're not sowing doubles, so sometimes the tomato seeds do like to stick together, which makes them a pain to separate. Burn those seeds in like so, and then pop your labels in. I always like to write my labels before sowing, because if your hands are covered in dirt, it can make the labels a bit messy and you get dirt and stuff all over your pens and upset your missus. So yeah, there's a tip, do your labels before you sow. So thanks for joining me down here at Camden Community Garden today in the greenhouse. Now that I've sowed these seeds, what I'm actually going to do is take them home. Whilst we are in spring and the days are quite warm, the nights are still pretty chilly and we are prone to the occasional frost, so check your local conditions. You want to keep them inside overnight until they germinate, and then once they germinate you can put them outside for a few hours each day. As they grow, the stems will become stronger. If you leave them inside and they don't get enough light, what you'll find is they tend to get very leggy and the stems are quite weak, and that's one area that beginners do get wrong quite often. You'll see these really tall leggy seedlings and the stems are actually quite weak and they can't support themselves. So as soon as those first true leaves start developing, you really want to get them into some direct sunlight for a few hours each day and increase that as they get older. That's called hardening off. You might have heard that term before. That's what hardening off is. Basically just a gradual exposure to sunlight as the seedlings grow. Another tip is always keep your seed raising mix moist, not wet. So every couple of days just give it a light spray just to make sure that seed raising mix doesn't dry out. I've got a seed tray here that doesn't have any holes in it, so I'm actually going to put some water in the bottom of this and let the water seep up through the trays. But you can top water. I've done both. Some people only bottom water, some top water. I've done both and both work out fine. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you got something out of this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and in the meantime, let's go grow.